stack there, stack there, here, and all right. Hey, all right. It sounds like we're live now. All right. Hey, what is up, folks? Sounds like my volume's coming through A-OK, so let me drop that down so it becomes background nothingness. Check. Sounds like we're good. Okay, cool. Hey, my name's Phil Kearney. I create role-playing games. I illustrate them, and I publish them online. And how is this sitting here? Is that good? All right. Hey, cool. Excellent. So we are continuing to work on the martial power system. Let me fix this so that little frame is... There we go. Frame is gone. Cool. Yeah, I create role-playing games. I illustrate them. I publish them online. I've been working on 5th edition stuff since the release of Guildmaster's Guide to Ravnica back in 2017. I thought we'd see a little bit more about color mana and the color magic system to replace the schools of magic, but that didn't happen. So... I got to work. If you're interested in the stuff that I do, you can check out here in the description down below. There is a full link to all the Magic the Gathering color mana stuff that I've created before. All of these books have extensive free previews. Here's the core mechanics. Here's Knights and Tricksters specifically. Here's a take on the Way of Four Elements called Elemental Key, specifically that branches out. This one takes it focuses specifically on red, green, and blue color magic, but instead of using the 5 color magic paradigm, you could instead use the 4 elements like Avatar the Airbender, using air, earth, fire, and water instead. So there's 2 different paradigms that you could use there, and you can check out the full preview here. It's like a 14-page document. We basically converted the Way of the Four Elements into a half-casting class using short rest key mana. And then again, the way that the system generally works is the best way to take a look at is using the revised color magic system. Here, it's a pay-what-you-won't document, but again, it's got an extensive free preview. And if you check it out here, it basically takes the 5 colors of magic from Magic the Gathering, which is white, blue, black, red, and green mana, which replaces the 8 schools of magic. It also, we get rid of the spell slots that's traditional for normal 5e or other versions of D&D, and replace it with a color mana system that's a 1-to-1 ratio, where if you're going to cast a 1st level spell, it's going to cost you 1 mana. If you want to cast a 9th level spell, it's going to cost you 9 mana, which makes more sense because 9 is 9 times greater. 9 versus 1 is a 9-to-1 ratio. If you use the Dungeon Master's Guide, it says 2 points is a 1st level spell and 13 points is a 9th level spell. So that means that using that logic, a 9th level spell is only 7.5 times more powerful than a 1st level spell. If you just use a 1-to-1 point ratio, a 9th level spell is 9 times more powerful than a 1st level spell, and you automatically, just looking at it, you know how much mana you have, you know how much spell power you have. There's no mental gymnastics that are required. I almost think that WotC did that on purpose so that everyone that was coming into 5e wouldn't be like, why the hell aren't you just using a mana system? But they own both MTG and D&D. There's a disconnect somewhere in there that I don't understand. So I was like, we should bridge that gap. So I built out a ton of books, and I'm still building. So aspects are like different mechanics or ideas inside of the D&D game that can be devoted to different colors, like divinity, healing, light, protection, restraint. That's white-ish sort of mechanics that go along with white's general philosophy, as opposed to like black, which is control, entropy, fear, the soul, and like personal identity, and darkness, which are also very thematic to black in general. So there's also damage types in D&D. Here's the damage types: white, blue, black, red, green. Here's generally the types of damage that you're going to see inside of D&D that are represented in cards throughout MTG, so we can code damage types to different colors. So if you take aspects plus damage equals the spell lists. These are all the for free. It's a pay what you want. You get this for free. It breaks down all the spells by color for you. But if you pick the thing up, if you purchase the bundle, you'll get access to all of the entire 500 some odd spells that are currently active in 5th edition. Let me stand up, get some stuff going here. So this stuff covers spellcasting. At the time, all we had was spellcasting. But if you go and look at MTG cards, there's all sorts of non-spellcasters that have mana effects on their card. Kind of like they can manipulate mana as well, but we don't have any mechanics to do that. So let's create martial powers, which takes a color mana system. Is basically built for barbarians, fighters, monks, paladins, rangers, and rogues, and then has some cool options for both artificers as well as warlocks too. All of these classes are being rebuilt, so they're making use of half-casting mana progression. The hybrid casting is for like rangers and paladins that can freely mix preparing spells or powers, up to you. Mix and match as you please. And all the martial characters are only using martial powers. This basically blends superiority dice from the battle master, inspiration dice from the bard, martial arts dice from the paladin, and stroke of genius from the artificer. It basically takes those 4 different dice mechanics and blends them together with the color mana spell point system to create what we have currently is about 209 basic powers. There's about 50 cantrip style powers in here that don't cost any mana for you to use, and about 150 powers that do require mana. First rank power, 1 mana. Third rank power, 3 mana. They go up to 4, which you gain by 13th level. So in any long run campaign, you're most likely going to get access to all the high end treats. But your character can eventually get to 5th level, like a ranger has 5th level spells. So once you get to 5th, you either have a ton of like 3rd, 4th, 1st, 2nd level spell powers that you can dump mana into, and then like over channel up to 5 mana at a time. Those inspiration, superiority, martial arts dice that I was talking about starts off with a D6, evolves to a D8 at 9th level, and then to a D10 at 17th level. I specifically curved that so it wouldn't overpower any classes that currently exist. Like using this system, the paladin can smite harder than any other class, even though all of these classes have access to smite-like abilities. The bard, inspiration gets up to a D12. It can out-inspire anything that's in this book, but this book allows you to basically build your own kind of kits. Kind of like if you're playing Magic the Gathering. Hey, Russ. If you're playing Magic the Gathering, basically what you're trying to do is build a deck of cards that synergizes with all the cards in the deck so that you have an efficient action loop that creates synergy for a winning technique. The system here allows you to use your class, subclass, feats, and powers chosen to also create synergistic kits that allow you to bend your mana and your action economy to do more, so that you have this preparation style of either selecting powers, cantrip type effects, or feats, so that you can lean into or away from actually using mana as much as you want, but it gives you a very wide quadratic growth, just like a full caster or typical half casters have, where in here we've got 200 different options that you can kit into over the course of your character and swap out as preparation every day. So it takes away that divide between the martials and the casters, but it approaches everything from a very different sort of instantaneous, like fast reaction, adrenaline combat style that you would expect to see in martial characters, more so than say preparing and then like being methodical and thought out about weaving these incantations on the battlefield or around your allies, enemies, and yourself to create these high power effects. You have to weave those together as spellcasting. These are more like adrenalized, I hit you, now I'm going to dump a bunch of mana into it. I take a swing at you, I'm going to dump mana so I can swing again. Here comes a reaction. There's like a dozen different types of opportunity attacks that you can just fire off with mana at any time that you want. And there's many instances where you can buy those down to not costing any mana at all from your mana pool. So you can, if you go to my Discord channel, you can see the progression, all this stuff. And for those, hey, let me catch up with your text here in a second. I'm about to finish my intro blurb, and then we'll dive into stuff. So if you want to check out how this system works, the playtest content it's on my Patreon. You don't have to be a member of my Patreon, but God bless you if you want to chip me a buck while you're there. The actual document is here. For you, it's a read only. For myself, my playtesters, obviously we have editing access so we can cut and paste Once this thing is completed, it's going to be on DMsGuild with full read access, just like everything else that I build does. So, burp, 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 burp. And I'm also, when the new player's handbook comes out, I'm going to rebuild all of. God, I'm going to actually rebuild all of these books to make sure that it still jives with what 2024 onward is doing, and you'll still be able to access the older version of these in a zip file. So you'll have access to all this stuff, either with the current or the new version to make use of. And some people are converting it into 3.5 if they want to do that. The mechanics work the same. So what are you saying here? Are there going to be items like mana matrix reducing mana costs for set spells? There is. We don't reduce the cost of casting spells, but we do have items that give you extra mana, and there are different features and feats that you can take that give you free mana when you use the power. There's a weird mechanic going on that if we reduce the cost of something to 0, it creates complications with like how many effects can you maintain at the same time, because you're tracking the number of effects that you can maintain concentration or lock on at a time based on how much mana equal to your rank. Like if you are a 13th level character, you can channel up to 4 mana. That means that you can basically maintain concentration on up to 4 levels worth of stuff at one time, whether it's a 4th level power or spell or 4 separate 1st level spells or powers. So like if I took like a 3rd level power and I reduced it down to 0 cost, it technically wouldn't be tallying on your stack of maintained effects. So instead of reducing the cost to 0, there's things that allow you to get free mana so that you're not spending your own points in your mana pool, but you're still able to channel them anyway, because by channeling it, you like for example, if you sacrifice an attack, you gain a free point of mana to spend as part of an attack or like as a maneuver or whatever. So the system is designed to generate mana for you, either by taking rests to refill your mana pool, or to take actions, feats, or features to grant you additional mana. Some things very specifically allow you to refund that mana. Like if you fail a check, some classes allow you to regain the mana if you fail a check. Other things like the Rune Knight, for example, Rune Stones, do have auras that have 0 cost, but they're very specific effects. So there are some conditions in there that allow you to reduce the cost of mana, but for the most part, we have systems that give you free mana, so it costs mana to do it, but only for bookkeeping purposes. If you take like efficient power, it gives you a free point of mana whenever you channel a power. And if it's a first rank power that you make efficient, it only costs 1 mana to channel it. So if I take efficient power on, say, ambush only costs 1 mana for me to channel. It gives me basically I can add a die roll to my my initiative check, right? So if I make that efficient, whenever I channel ambush, it automatically generates a free point of mana for me. I could then take extra mana from my mana pool to add extra dice to it to ramp up the effect. But that's keeping track of how much mana I'm spending, whether it's free or coming out of my mana pool. It's a technical niggly bit, but it's kind of important because of how stacking mana with powers, maintaining power, sustaining stuff, and channeling at the same time. There has to be bookwork being accounted for, unless we have something that breaks that rule. So hopefully that makes sense. How about blood, pet, and other mana creatures? Technically don't exist yet, but we still have plenty of time and options ahead of us. One of the interesting things to consider, since you're talking about it, one of the things that a paladin can do, and some people may have seen this last night when they're around, but one of the features that we did with the paladin with the channel divinity ability, not channel divinity, the lay on hands. Lay on hands, you basically get 5 hit points per level, 5 at first level, 100 at 20th level, and you can use those to heal people. One of the things that we did was divine recovery, which is if you spend 5 hit points, you can instead get a point of mana back. As a bonus action, you can give yourself back mana. As an action, you can give mana back to other people. So a paladin becomes a living mana battery that can restore people's pools. The barbarian's wild mage, wild magic, path of wild magic, that's what it's called. If we scroll up to that here real quick, get into path of wild magic. One of the wild surge options that you have at the high end is concentration spell affecting your wisdom save throw until your age ends. Shadowy tendrils, multicolor, opportunity attacks. See until rage ends. You can bolstering magic as an action. There you go. You can harness your wild magic to bolster yourself or a companion. As an action, you can touch one creature, which can be yourself, and confer one of the following benefits of the choice of that creature. While you're raging, you gain a power die at the beginning of your turn, which can be used when making an attack roll or ability check, adding the number rolled on that result. Or the creature regains mana equal to the max channel rank gained as a barbarian. So I have a 9th level. This is a 6th level effect. So if I'm a 9th level barbarian, I have a 3rd rank. I have 3 ranks of power as a barbarian. So as an action, I would then be able to touch you and restore 3 points of mana up to your maximum amount. Once a creature receives this benefit, the creature can't receive it again until they finish the long rest. And then if we go down and we're going to look at artificers. Hopefully we're going to look at those today. Let's scroll down to the artificer. Past mechanics. Magical nemesis. Here we go. Warlocks and artificers. Here we go. Artificers can build mana crystals. So mana condensed mana condensed into a small crystal. An artificer can craft a crystal from magical energy to hold a number of mana up to 1 plus the max spell level you can prepare as an artificer, and they're half-caster progression. So, for example, a 9th level artificer can craft a mana crystal to hold up to 4 mana. 9th level, 3rd level spells plus 1, 4 mana, which can be spent in any combination such as 4 mana once, or 4 separate uses of 1 mana each, 2 uses of 2 mana each, etc. A mana crystal can't regain any lost mana. The artificer must create a new mana crystal with a new charge of mana. You can create multiple mana crystals, with each counting towards one of your infused items. So if you're playing an artificer and you want to kit in, you can just kit out your character to be nothing but just fists full of mana crystals that add a shitload of mana to your character. I forget how. I think it's 6 items that you can infuse by 20th level, which at 17th level your 5s, that'd be 6. So you basically, if you wanted to use your artificer as a mana battery and you kitted him completely out at 20th level, he'd have a stack of 36 mana in the form of a bunch of rocks that you would be able to use yourself or hand off to somebody to use as well. So we have means of creating items and features that generate mana. If you wanted to have a creature that is some sort of mana pet or something, then it would just be a matter of adding one of these ideas to what they do, or just arbitrarily saying if you have a ranger, for example, if it had a mana pet or something, or if what would it be, a wither bloom, like a wither bloom druid, for instance, could potentially bring pets, could summon pets and then sacrifice them to gain mana, for instance. That could be something that you could do. There's ways to do that, but I haven't specifically built into it. But the tech is in here if you want to pull it out. Eventually, I'll get to it. I'll be eventually doing a Strixhaven book, a Theros book. I'll be leaning more into Ravnica, like Book of Dimir, Book of Boros, Book of Rakdos. It's just a matter of time of getting them up and running. So, a lot of cool stuff that we have crawling around inside of here. You are again, the link is in the description down below that leads you to my Patreon. That will then lead you to this document as a read only. I mean, you'll be able to read it, and once it's published on DMsGuild, you'll be able to pick it up. Let's see. So right now, what we want to do is we want to work on powers for the ranger. So we might have to peel open the ranger information from the player's handbook. But my objective today is to chew through ranger. So ranger is a hybrid, which means that they gain their mana on a long rest. They essentially gain 2 mana per level. 20th level, they gain 40 mana. They have powers that they learn, and since it's a hybrid, they have access both to the Ranger's spell list as well as the full book of powers. So you can, and we make Rangers a prep caster, so you can prepare any number of spells or powers, and you can change that every time you take a long rest. The total amount of powers that you have, here you go. It progresses like this. This is more generous than what the player's handbook gives to the paladin. It's about this is about on par with what the paladin gets. So that's kind of the benchmark that we wanted to set in general. So so yeah, so that's the power. Here's your power die. That increases, you gain levels. This is the thing that like adds damage, increases your attack bonus, increases your saving throws. The armor class that you can increase, adding to your ability check modifiers. The power die is just kind of a universal die that you can make use of. So looking at the features that exist inside of the Ranger, channeling, you get mana, you gain powers that you can short rest, you can blend them with spellcasting if you want, freely as you do. Pop my neck. There we go. Special martial power features that are implemented in this book. Mark of Prey. First level feature. This replaces Hunter's Mark spell. It also replaces Favored Enemy and the Favored Foe optional class features. Starting at level 1, you gain 1 temporary point of mana that can be used as a bonus action to mark a creature that you can see as prey. You can tap or lock this mana to sustain Mark of Prey as a first rank power. As a first rank power, and while sustained, you can use a bonus action to mark a different creature as your prey. So it becomes a sustained effect. We give you a free point of mana, so it doesn't actually cost you anything if you don't want to cast it, unless you need to cast it again. Like if you decide to just tap the mana to channel the effect, you have to maintain concentration on it. And if you fail a concentration check, the ability ends. So then you'd have to spend another point of mana out of your own pool to activate it again. Alternatively, you would be able to lock the power, and if you lock it, you no longer have to concentrate on the Mark of Prey. But that also reduces the amount of mana that you can channel otherwise. If you're just concentrating on something, you can cast spells or activate other powers freely while you're maintaining concentration, just like a normal spellcaster could in 5th edition. But if you lock it, it reduces the amount of mana that you can use by the rank of that power. And since this is considered a first rank power, at first level, you only have 1 rank of power. If you lock it, Mark of Prey will be active all day long, but you won't be able to use your mana pool anymore until you let it go or until you get to 5th level, which you then have you gain second rank powers. So if you then locked Mark of Prey, you'd still have a point of mana open that you could then freely channel first rank powers or cast first level spells with, or if you wanted to, sustain a second power that's first rank as well. And then you could lock that one too, and again cut off all your mana. So that might not sound like a great deal, but again, if you don't want to use your mana pool, you can like say at 5th level, you have 6 powers that you know. You could learn 2 first rank power. You could learn like a first rank power, plus you have your Mark of Prey. You could lock both of those on, and now you have 5 abilities left over, but you can't use your mana at all. That's okay, because if that's how you want to play, instead of learning powers that require mana, there are 20 feats that you can pick from that you can learn as powers. So if you want your Ranger to have Sharpshooter and Skulker, Telepathy, so you don't have to talk while you're hunting, Poisoner, and Piercer for your bow, you can learn all those by 5th level. Keep your ASI from 4th level so you can bump up your Dexterity or your Wisdom stat, whatever you want, and you can just pick up all these feats as powers. So you could afford to lock all of your channels, not make use of your mana pool anymore, and just lean into learning feats. So, or you can build out your character so you're leaving yourself exposed to potentially lose concentration like spellcasters can. And while you're maintaining concentration on those effects, do all this other cool shit that are stacked inside of here. So that's the general idea that goes on behind that. So you can use your bonus action And while you're maintaining concentration on the effect, while you're sustaining it, you can use a bonus action to switch between targets. Let's see. You can, and I'll catch up with text here in a minute. So let's see. You can use your bonus action this way immediately when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, applying. Okay, so if I shoot you, and you're not currently my mark of prey, if I hit you and I'm sustaining the effect, I could then use my bonus action to immediately on hit make you my mark of prey. That then activates what the power does. So what does mark of prey do? While sustaining mark of prey, you gain advantage on attacks against that prey, as well as advantage on intelligence, investigation, and wisdom checks using insight, perception, and survival checks. When you hit your prey with a weapon attack, you gain 1 temporary point of mana to channel a strike for free. And this gets cut off. For example, if a first level ranger, what's up? Missed out on calling a manhole list. Maybe ASI. If you don't know what D&D, if you don't play D&D 5th edition, this probably doesn't make sense. But ASI is an ability stat increase. At different levels, your character gains a feat, which could instead be spent to increase an ability score by 2 points. Like if my dexterity right now is 16, when I get to 4th level, I could increase it to 18. Or I could take a feat. And the big problem in D&D is that martial characters are dependent on feats to become more powerful, while spellcasters just get more spells, and that makes them more powerful. They don't necessarily need feats to do that. So while your wizard and your cleric are spending each of their ASI to increase their wisdom and their intelligence to make their spells more difficult to resist and to give them better attack values with their spellcasting, the martial characters are spending these ability increases to get things like skulking, sharpshooter, piercing damage, stuff like that. They're having to choose between stronger character and more options, while the caster get more power from spells that are automatically given to them, and they can save those increases to make their character more powerful automatically. So it's another example where casters are just better, are just treated better than marshals in D&D. I'm attempting to take all the cool, easy bits that casters get and give them to the martial characters, so that a martial character can increase their character while using their prepared powers each day to learn feats and powers, so that they can also become more powerful, just like the spellcaster can. That's a big thing that's missing in D&D right now, and there's no assurance that Wizards of the Coast is going to fix that in the 2024. And if they don't, it's probably gonna be another 10 years before we have a chance that they will. So I'm just building this thing to make sure that we have that option. Hopefully people jive with it. So yeah, okay. And 3. I was a big 3.5 fan. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, ASI, ability score increases. There you go. So let's see. So the effect: while sustaining mark of prey, you gain advantage with attacks and stuff to basically hunt your target. And when you hit your prey with a weapon attack, you gain 1 temporary point to channel a strike. So basically you can, the strike effects replace smites. So here's the stack, and again, there's like 24 of them. All the different type of strike effects that we have. Here's a cool one. Let's go with Life Stealing Strike. Your weapon damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned. In addition, you gain a number of temporary hit points equal to the result of the power dice rolled. And any temporary hit points that remain are lost on a short or long rest. So at first level, when you get Mark of Prey, you're rolling a d6. If I hit my prey, I can gain a free point of mana that I would then be able to spend 1 point on to, say, if I know life stealing. If I hit that prey, I'm going to roll that d6. It'll do, like, say, 4 extra damage. And those 4 extra damage I now get as temporary hit points. So I'm buffing my character to have more resilience in combat while damaging my opponent. Alternatively, like Goading Strike is like a Freezing Strike is an easy good one. I deal cold damage, and I can deal at first level d6 damage. And when I hit the target, that's when I deal the damage, and that target's movement is halved. So now it becomes slow because its joints are frozen. Goading Attack, if I hit them, they're now at disadvantage to attack anyone other than me. And that effect stays active, like Freezing Strike lasts until the end of their next turn. Lifesteal is an instant effect. I just get the hit points and they stay there until I rest or they get taken away from me. But Goading Strike is a little bit different. This remains in effect until the target either succeeds an intelligence saving throw at the end of each of its turns, or if it hits me. If it hits me with an attack, it's no longer goaded. But then I can just goad it again next turn, so I can keep refreshing it. If I mark it as my target, every time I hit it, I get a free point of mana, which I could then goad, freeze, grapple. Well, I can't use grappling because that's melee only. Unless I have my Mark of Prey and I hit with a sword or a fist or something like that. Yeah, lots of neat stuff. And let's see, like Shocking Strike. If I hit you with this, you take lightning damage, and that target can't make an opportunity attack until their next turn. So fun stuff. So that's what the mark does. It gives you advantages on hitting. It makes it easy to track your prey, and you get free mana to deal extra damage against them. But if you lock it at first level, you reduce your effective casting, your effective channel level to 0. First, you only have 1 rank at first level. If you lock Mark of Prey, that locks that point of point of channeling, so you can't use any mana anymore until your 5th level. So at 5th level, you could lock Mark of Prey and keep it on all day. And since you have 2 channels and you've locked one down, you have 1 left open. And so whenever you get a free point of mana, you can channel it. At first level, you can risk concentration and still get that free point of mana, because concentration doesn't lock your channel down. It doesn't block your ability to use mana. It's just you're now having to concentrate on stuff. Using the normal rules of spellcasting in D&D. So it's that neat little risk reward. You can reward yourself by locking the ability, but the risk is that you're reducing the amount of mana you can use. But at first level, if you want to lock, just get a shitload of feats instead. So that way you're getting like sharpshooter and piercing damage, the piercer feats that can just make do until you get to 5th level, at which point you can start opening this up. So keep in mind, I build this game. When I run D&D, I play level 1 to 20. It takes about a year for me to go from level 1 to 20, and then we start a new campaign over. So when I build tools, I build them for intention for a long-form game. So I'm doing this playtesting starting tomorrow to make sure everything jives at the low levels. Is it so bad when you lock a power and lose access to this stuff that we need to reconsider it? At high levels, it's easy. If you're only going to lock down 1 or 2 points of mana, and you've got 5 of them, that's cool. I've got 3 open. I can do almost anything that I want and have low risk in doing so. But at the really low levels, when your stuff is really constrained, is it still fun, or is it fair to have that thing locked and instead just prep a bunch of feats? When I was doing 5th level, I thought it was awesome, and I appreciated it that I had the choice to lock something or leave it open. When I felt like I was in a low risk situation, I just maintained concentration and left my mana open, like the trap spring and stuff like that. But once I got into heavy fights, I dropped concentration effects that I didn't need anymore, so that I left all my mana open without risk, so that I'd be able to use all my mana anytime that I needed to be able to lay into opponents I deemed as threats. So there's a neat little action economy thing that goes on there. And we'll see, it should play out okay, but got to play test the stuff at low levels to make sure it feels good at low level, the same as it felt good at high levels. Because my home table played it from level 15 to 20 last year. And we loved it. It was like, yeah, this is awesome. If it works at the high end, it's easier to reverse engineer down to make use at low levels. If you build something at low levels, then you have a problem with scope sprawl as you try to build out the higher levels. So you should really be thinking, when you're designing stuff, you should really be thinking about, like, what can this character do at the top level, and how can I reverse engineer to back that down so that I still have that flavor all the way through all 20 levels, but it doesn't get overpowered at any point along the way. So that's just my philosophy that's worth considering. Yeah, you can use this feature once, and then you regain that free point of mana whenever you finish a short or long rest. And you can regain this feature anytime that you want by, again, spending a point of mana out of your own pool to regain it. There you go. So, and then at 7th level, as a ranger, when you lock mark, now 7th level, you have access to 2nd rank, right? So you can channel 2 mana. If you lock it, you still have a point of mana open. It can be sustained while you're unconscious and during a long rest. So you don't regain the temporary point of mana while it's sustained this way. and the prey must make a saving throw versus your channeling DC at the end of each 24 hours to escape the effect of being hunted. Starting at 13th level. At 13th level, you have access to 4th rank powers, and locking Mark of Prey only ties up once, so you still have 3 mana open even if it's locked. So starting at 13th level, when you lock a Mark of Prey, you can mark a different creature as your prey as part of an attack without using the bonus action once per turn. Additionally, you can score a critical hit against your prey on a roll of 19 or 20. And then Mark of Prey can be combined with, and then you can be combined with. Oh wow! Holy shit! I didn't realize I did that. Mark of Prey can be combined with empowered. Actually. Oh yeah. Mark of Prey can be combined with empowered attacks. So if I have 2 attacks, like at 5th level, I have 2 attacks, and I have a channel limit of 2. If I'm using Mark of Prey to get a free point of mana to then channel a strike, I can also sacrifice one of my attacks to automatically deal 2 dice of damage. However many attacks I sacrifice is the amount of free mana that I get. So I can add that to my my Mark of Prey. So at 5th level, anytime I hit a target, as long as I'm making only 1 attack with my attack action, I can do 2 dice worth of damage for free. So there you go. Let's see, it's starting at 13th level, and then Ranger Prowess, Deathmark. Yeah, Deathmark comes up later on. Okay, so that's the basic combat. That's like the big combat thing that Rangers get. They basically get infinite mana to strike targets with as long as they make them their mark. A 1st level Ranger has 2 mana. Plus you get the free point from Mark of Prey. So you can do it at least 3 times per day. If you decide to lock it and lean into feats, you have it all day long. But you can't use the free point of mana to strike because you locked it. So, give and takes. Optional class feature, Empowered Maneuvers. When you take the attack action, you can sacrifice any amount of attacks to gain free mana that you can then use to channel a maneuver as a bonus action. Maneuvers can be channeled as actions or bonus actions, and you can do it twice per round as an action and a bonus action, including repeating the same power more than once. So, coordinated attack, for example, costs 1 mana. And so, coordinated attack, you can empower a target ally you can see and that can see and hear you to use their reaction to make an opportunity attack. If you know if you know the Battle Master, you'll recognize that from Battle Master. You then roll 1 power die per mana channeled, and I could, for instance, just to finish it, I roll 1 power die, and I add the highest result to my ally's attack roll. So if I'm 5th level as a Ranger, and I sacrifice both of my attacks, I could then give you coordinated attack. You then use your reaction. You then roll 2 6-sided dice, and the best result of those 2, you add to your attack roll with that reaction attack. That's coordinated attack. So, empowered maneuvers. You can sacrifice attacks to get free mana to add to maneuvers. I'll just quickly point out empowered attacks. We talked about that already. If I attack and I have any attacks left during my attack action, I can sacrifice any amount of remaining attacks to get free mana that I can then channel as a strike on the attack that I just hit with for basically free damage. Ranger fighting styles. We made new fighting styles. So Rangers have a short list of fighting styles they can choose from already, which is archery, defense, and dueling in the player's handbook. Martial Powers provides 2 additional fighting styles that are unique to the Ranger. You get access to at 2nd level, so I know level dipping is open, but it delays everything that you get if you do. Dual wielding and ranged prowess. You can choose 1 fighting style at 2nd level, and you can spend feats or powers gained as a Ranger to learn these fighting styles as well. So dual wielding replaces 2 weapon fighting. When dual wielding 2 weapons, you can use any 2 one-handed melee weapons you're proficient with, or unarmed attack without penalties, using the attack action with 1 weapon and a bonus action with the other. Basically, it simplifies. It doesn't require you to use a light weapon. Rangers are the best 2-weapon fighters in the game, period. Starting at 6th level, when you have access to 2nd rank powers and a 2nd attack. When you're using your extra attacks during your attack action, you can choose to attack with either weapon. You don't have to just use your offhand weapon with a bonus action only. You can freely mix the weapons. Then starting at 11th level, when you hit with a weapon attack, you can then use your bonus action to also roll damage for the second weapon as part of the same attack. So at 11th level, when you hit, you can hit with both weapons at the same time, as though it was a two-handed weapon, but it's two separate weapons together. Combining the results of both weapons together. If the attack is ranged, both weapons must be thrown, so you can throw two daggers at the same time to hit the same target, right? Make sense? And that uses your bonus action. And then you would still you'd still have a spare weapon left over, or a spare attack left over, that you'd then be able to use either hand to attack with. And then there's ranged prowess, which is you can channel strikes through ranged weapons at normal range. So normally you can only channel strike powers, like extra damage, with melee weapons, whether making a melee attack or a thrown weapon attack. Some options allow you to channel smite strike powers as a ranged, like through a bow. And ranged prowess is one of them. So you can channel strikes through ranged weapons at normal range and thrown weapons at far range. And then at 6th level as a ranger, you can make opportunity attacks with your thrown and ranged weapons against targets within 10 feet of you, as though you were wielding a weapon with reach. And then at 11th level as a ranger, you can channel strikes through range at far range. So I can smite you 300 feet away. There you go. That's the cool stuff that's there. And then you have Death Mark at 20th level. It replaces Foe Slayer. When Mark of Prey is locked, and at 20th level, you have 5 ranks. So if you lock one of them, you still have 4 channels open. It can only be disrupted. You can't. Normally, you can have it disrupted like you can be hit with a dispel magic, and that'll disrupt the power. But with this Death Mark, you can only disrupt it if you're killed. And you can score a critical hit against your prey with an 18, 19, or 20. Normally, Rangers have a maximum power die of a D10. But if you're using Mark of Prey against your prey, it's a D12 instead. So if I were to, and it has to be locked. So I would then be able to do 4 mana to do 4d12 damage, which is going to be 48 damage. If I don't lock Mark of Prey, I'd be able to use 5 mana using a D10. It'd be 5d10. Max 50 versus a max of 48. So it's kind of washing out the effect. There you go. And now we're going to get into the actual conclaves. Text update. Okay, cool. So we're up to date. So now that we've gotten through the basic mechanics of how Rangers work, let's see what the subclasses do. So all subclasses gain 2 powers per level. So like Rangers normally don't get bonus spells for some stupid reason. We're giving them to you. Barbarians and stuff you saw up above, they also got 2 extra powers per level. So you have your stack at 20th level, right? You have a total of 16 powers that you get to prepare for yourself. But when you take your subclass, you also get a pre-built set of 10 powers that are always prepared. So you end up with 26 powers on your list. So you have plenty of space for you to have feats and powers combined to work for your character to build your own kind of action economy. So we're looking at Beastmaster. So Beast Companion, 3rd level. We're going to assume that you're going to use the Spirit Companion, where you're summoning a spirit to become a physical creature. So we're going to use the Tasha Cauldron of Everything rules there. Although you could technically use the 2014, but I think 2024 is going to just lock in TCE as the thing. So you can then spend 2 mana to resummon a companion at full hit points at any time. You can take damage for your companion using your own hit points while you can see your companion. So the companion is going to have its own hit point pool, but you could also keep it alive artificially long. As long as you can see it, you can sacrifice your own hit points instead of letting it die. If you're using Lifesteal and you're getting temporary hit points every round, that's a great option because it'll eat your temporary hit points before it affects either one of you. Let's see. Companion can move and act in tandem with the ranger during their turn. So you don't have to wait for your turn to end before your companion acts. You can move and then attack, and then your dog can move and attack, and then you can take a bonus action. So you can, in tandem, you can have them work together as the same action, the same person, basically. Companions' natural attacks qualify as melee weapons of 1 silver piece in value, and unarmed attacks for feats. I meant to write for let's see, how am I supposed to word this? Companion natural attacks qualify as melee weapons of 1 silver piece in value. To qualify for spells and feats, and are considered unarmed attack for use with feats and other options that require these specific attacks. So like your wolf can grapple because it's treated as an unarmed attack. So if your wolf, like wolves can trip, but with this system, wolves are also considered to have, their bite is considered an unarmed attack. So now you can grapple or like trigger a spell-like effect or all sorts of stuff with them. Crusher feat, piercing feat, you can use all these different feats with them as well now. Ranger and Companion both have reactions each round. So the Beast Companion Ranger has basically 2 reactions per round, one for themselves, one for their pet. Ranger can use an action or bonus action to command your companion to take any action, including single attacks. The companion can benefit from any feats that you know. So it might be well worth for you to stack up a bunch of feats in your power list because your companion is automatically going to be able to make use of them as well. Like the Piercer feat, for example. If my ranger is a bowman and I'm going to fire arrows using the piercing feat, my dog has a bite attack that's piercing damage. It can also make use of the piercing feat. So incredible synergy that we're building into it. Shared power. This is also, what is this? Also at 3rd? Yeah, this is also 3rd level. You can channel strikes through companion attacks, and companion attacks can benefit from Mark of Prey. So when my dog hits, I can spend a point of mana, and it can use Lifesteal. So now it has temporary hit points, or it can use Goad. So if my dog goads you, if you try to attack me, it's at disadvantage. The only thing that you can attack without disadvantage would be my dog. And I can have my dog go run off into the bushes. So good luck chasing it down, you're fucked. So in addition, you can target your companions separately with a sustained power. So you can maintain sustain a power on yourself, and you can sustain powers on your companion. Tapping mana separately for your companion. You can sustain the same power for yourself and your pet up to a maximum rank of powers, up to your maximum rank of power. So like at 5th level, I could power 1 mana for myself and 1 mana for my pet. If it's the same power, then we're both going to benefit from it. Coordinated combat at 7th level. You can now use any number of attacks during the attack action to command the companion to attack instead of making my own. And I can still use my bonus action to command my pet to attack. Shared power equals I can now use exploits and reactions that I know through my companion. So my companion gets a reaction, and if I have let's look at some reaction powers real quick. So if my dog is in a position to make an opportunity attack, for instance, deflection. As a reaction to when me or an ally within reach of my dog's melee attack are hit by an attack roll from a source that we can see, the attack is re-rolled, taking the new result, and that attack cannot crit. So I can put my dog on guard duty on the cleric or the wizard, and take in a bunch of reaction defense effects, deflection, interpose to take damage, and then I can take the damage for the pet if I want to. Parry as a reaction to another creature that I can see damages my dog with a melee attack. I can spend a point of mana to then roll a power die and reduce the amount of damage by that power die. And that power is considered an opportunity attack. So a bunch of cool stuff that I can do. Or punish. If you hit me with an attack, I can hit you back and deal damage to you as well. There you go. That's it. Punish. If an attacker misses an attack, I can make an opportunity attack against you, rolling a power die of damage. There you go. So a bunch of cool, and then it gets more and more intense as we go up in levels. So God, Animal Companion is really fucking intense in this game, in this system. Gestalt Teamwork. At 11th level, when taking the attack action, you gain a third attack that can only be used to command a companion to attack. There you go. Shared power, and again, I can use empowered strikes with this stuff. So I could sack 2 of my attacks to then give my doggo 2 free points of mana to deal extra damage when my dog hits. So that's awesome. Shared power, I can now choose to channel any maneuver power that I know through my companion as well. And I can choose to sacrifice my companion's attack to then channel maneuvers as a bonus action using the empowered maneuvers above. Twin companions, at 15th level I can summon 2 companions at once. And I can use my attacks during the attack action to order either companion to attack. So now there's 3 of me now. And we all share our action economy together. Shared power, when the channel, I can now sustain powers or maintain concentration on a spell. My companions benefit from the effect for free. So it just gets crazy juiced. Drake Warden, for the most part, is the same, with a couple of exceptions. Shared power is no different. Drake Companion. Let's see. Bond of Fane and Scale. It deals an extra power die of damage instead of just a d6, so it upgrades over time. You gain resistance to the color, as described in Tasha's Cauldron and everything. You gain the shared power for the channel exploits, just like the dog above. Breath Weapon, you can recharge it on 3 mana. Shared power is channel maneuvers to the companion. That's the same as above. Perfect Bond 15. Reflex resistance. When you make a reflex saving throw, you have resistance to the effect. Shared power, again, you also have sustained power. So it's basically the same with the added Drake Companion stuff. Plus flight eventually and size growth and all that other stuff. Let's see, Fey Wanderer. Okay, so Fey Wanderer is interesting. You get 5 spells, 1 per level, as a ranger. So instead of getting 2 powers that replace the spells that you would get, instead you get your 5 spells from Tasha's Cauldron, and you get 5 extra powers from this book. Let's see, Dreadful Strikes, 3rd level. When you hit your marked prey with a weapon attack, you can choose to deal psychic damage, as opposed to whatever damage you normally do. Otherworldly Glamour, charisma checks gain bonus equal to the max rank of power gained as a ranger. So at 3rd level, that'd be a +1. At 5th, it'd be 2, up to a +5 at 17th. In addition, I gain the skilled feat, yay! Which I can take proficiency in deception, performance, and persuasion. There you go. And if I already have any of those, I can choose a different skill tool or language. Beguiling Twist, it's the same as before. I should probably figure out what that is. D&D. Ranger. I have a timer going, right? It's been a while. Nope. How long have I been live? I have to pay attention to my timer. It's been 50. Okay, so I've basically got 20 minutes left. So let's go to Fey Wanderer, which is okay because we're almost done. Fey Wanderer. What are we looking at? Beguiling Twist. See, they get 5 spells. Most rangers don't get any spells, which is why a lot of the rangers in here get 2 spells per level. But the Fey Wanderer gets 1 spell each. So that's why you only get 5 powers. So you're always getting 10 bonus something. What did I want? Beguiling Twist. There you go. The magic of Fey, guard your mind. You have advantage on saving throws against being charmed or frightened. That doesn't change. In addition, whenever a creature you can see within 120 feet of you succeeds on a saving throw against being charmed or frightened, you can use your reaction to force a different creature you can see within 120 feet of you to make a wisdom saving throw against your spell DC. If the save fails, that target is charmed or frightened by you for 1 minute. The target can repeat saving throw at the end of each of its turns. Oh, neat. So if you pass, then I can target somebody else. Yeah, I didn't make any changes to that. That's good as is. Fey resistance, reinforcement, sorry. No changes. The Royal Court of the Feywild has blessed you with the assistance of Fey beings. Oh, okay. You know the Summon Fey spell. It doesn't count against the number of ranger spells that you know. And you can cast it without material opponents. You can cast it once without a spell slot and regain the ability to do so when you finish a long rest. That's cool. Whenever you start casting the spell, you can modify it so it doesn't require concentration. If you do so, the spell becomes a 1 minute duration for that casting. Yeah, I'm good with that. That's good as written. Misty Wanderer. So, 15th level. You can cast Misty Step without spending mana. You can do so a number of times equal to the max rank of power gained as a ranger. And at 15th level, that's 4 times. And you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. In addition, whenever you cast Misty Step, you can bring along, oh, that's awesome. You can bring along 1 willing creature with you. That creature teleports on an occupied space within 5 feet of you. Okay, good. That's good enough. Gloomstalker also gets 5 spells. See? Gloomstalker, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we give them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spells. Dread Ambusher. Dread Ambusher, same as the source. Let's check out what Dread Ambusher is supposed to do. At the start of your first turn of each combat, your walking speed increases by 10 feet, which lasts until the end of that turn. If you take the attack action on that turn, you can make 1 additional weapon attack as part of that action. If that attack hits, it deals an extra d8 of weapon damage. So, let's see. Dread Ambusher. Initiative adds max rank of power gained as a when you during combat when you roll initiative, your speed increases by 10 feet. Furthermore, make an extra attack against your marked prey. Okay, there it is. In addition, you can make an extra attack against your marked prey when taking the attack action. When taking the deal an extra point and this attack deals an extra power die of damage. It doesn't channel an extra power, it just deals an extra power die of damage. At 5th level, this can be combined with Empowered Strikes, forgoing this extra attack to reduce the cost of strikes by 1 additional point. Oh, cool, yeah, because it's an extra attack. As long as you're attacking your foe, you can sacrifice this attack to deal an extra power die of damage on top of the extra power die of damage you already get because of the Fey Wanderer. So you're just going to be, or not Fey Wanderer, what is it, Gloomstalker? God, you're just going to be fucking shit up. That is so good. Umbral Sight, as source. You gain 60-foot dark vision, or plus 30 if you already have it. And you are invisible to dark vision. There you go. And then there's the Iron Mind, same as the source. You gain Wisdom Save proficiency. Or if you're proficient in it already, you can gain Intelligence or Charisma saving throw proficiency instead. Stalker's Flurry at 11th level. You learn to attack with such unexpected speed that you can turn a miss into another strike. Once on each of your turns, when you miss with a weapon attack, you can immediately attack again with the same weapon, potentially turning a miss into a hit. That's fantastic. Shadowy Dodge, 15th. Shadowy Dodge as source. Reaction to attack rolls that doesn't have advantage against, reaction to attack. I better reread this because that's shorthanded. Shadowy Dodge. You can dodge in unforeseen ways with Wisp of Supernatural Shadow around you. Whenever a creature makes an attack roll against you and doesn't have advantage on the roll, you can use your reaction to impose disadvantage on it. You must use this feature before you know the outcome of the attack roll. Okay, well, we can modify that. Shadowy Dodge. When an attack... when you are attacked with disadvantage, there you go. So when you, is it a weapon attack? It's just an attack roll. It could be a spell too. Okay, so when you are attacked with disadvantage, you can use an opportunity attack to force that creature to roll with disadvantage. No, wait. When you are attacked. When you are attacked. When you are. Thank you. Whenever a creature attacks you without the benefit of advantage, you can use an opportunity attack, because you can have multiple opportunity attacks. Opportunist is a power that you sacrifice a number of attacks during your turn to gain that many additional opportunity attacks, which comes in handy often. Whenever a creature attacks you without the benefit of advantage, you can use an opportunity attack to force that creature to roll with disadvantage. Before you know the result of the attack roll. There you go. To impose, that's the wording. To impose on the attack roll. Before you know the result of the attack roll. On the roll before you know the result of the attack. There you go. Easy peasy. Horizon Walker. How we doing? Horizon Walker also gets 5 spells. Ooh, wow. 1, 2, Jesus. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gets 5 spells. We give him 5 powers on top of it. See Planar Warrior feature below. Okay. Phase Attack, Anchor, Ghost Walker, Indestructible. Good shit. At 3rd level, see the Planar Travel section above. See the Planar Warrior feature. Okay, cool. Detect Portal. You gain the ability to magically sense the presence of Planar Portal. As an action, you can detect the distance and direction to the closest Planar Portal within 1 mile per rank gained as a Ranger. Per rank of power. So at 17th level, I can detect them up to 5 miles away. Once I use this feature, I can't use it again until I finish a short or long rest. Alternatively, I can burn 1 mana to regain use of this feature. See the Planar Travel section? There you go. Planar Warrior, 3rd level. Instead of gaining a spell, I have Planar Warrior, which is you learn to draw on the energy of the multiverse to augment my attacks. Oh, you can choose to deal force damage instead of weapon damage when you hit a creature marked as your prey. In addition, got it, choose either Necrotic Strike, Psionic Strike, or Radiant Strike as a bonus power gain this level. You can replace your choice with one of the other 2 options when you gain another level of Ranger. So, Necrotic, Psionic, and Radiant Strikes. Necrotic Strike. Your weapon can deal force or necrotic damage and add 1 power die per mana burn. Psionic. Your weapon can deal force or psychic damage. And Radiant, force or radiant damage. There you go. So learn one of those. In addition, blah, blah, blah. Okay, cool. So Ethereal Step, 7th level. You learn to step through the ethereal plane. Cool. As a maneuver, you can cast the etherealness spell with this feature without expending a spell slot. But the spell ends at the end of your current turn. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or a long rest. Alternatively, you can burn 2 mana to regain this feature. Very sweet. Distant Strike, 11th level. You gain the ability to pass between the planes in the blink of an eye. When you take the attack action, you can teleport up to 10 feet before each attack to an unoccupied space you can see. Nice. If you attack at least 2 different targets with the action, you can make 1 additional attack with it against a 3rd creature This third attack can't be, and you can't use this to use Empowered Strike because it requires you to have attacked 2 other creatures already. So that is a caveat which limits your ability to use Empowered attacks. This third attack can't be used with Empowered attacks or Empowered maneuvers. Spectral Defense. Your ability to move between planes enables you to slip through the planar boundaries to lessen the harm done to you during battle. When you take damage from an attack, you can use your reaction to give yourself resistance to that instance of damage. You can use an opportunity attack to give yourself resistance to that instance of damage. The Opportunist is a sustained effect. It costs 2 mana. So it's expensive for you to use it, but the result is, again, you can sacrifice any number of your attacks to then be used as additional opportunity attacks. So if this guy's on full tank right now, if you tank your ranger, you could use Opportunist to do goading strikes to draw attacks to you that you would then be able to use your opportunity attack to become resistant to the damage that they deal if they hit you. So, cool. Moving on. Hunter normally doesn't get any spells. See? No spells. So you get 10. There you go. As opposed to, like, up here you got 5 spells, so you only get 5 powers. Because you can mix and match them, because you're a hybrid. Hunter's Prey. 3rd level. Choose one of the following benefits. Colossus Slayer. When your prey is larger than you, because of Hunter's Prey. When your prey is larger than you, increase your power die by 1 size up to a D12. So at 3rd level, it's a D6. But if you take Colossus Slayer, if you're fighting a large or bigger creature, if it's larger than you, I could eventually be large size using powers. So then it would have to be huge. But as long as the creature is bigger than me, at 3rd level, I'd be using a D8 instead of a D6. At 17th level, I'd be using a D12 instead of a D10. Giant Killer. When using the punish... Punish. I get Punish at 1st level. At 3rd level. So it's already on my list. So, when using the Punish power... Let's look at the Punish power, just to remind everyone what that is. As a reaction to when an enemy you can see within range of your attack misses with an attack roll against you or an ally, you can make an attack, rolling 1 power die per mana burned, adding the highest result to the attack roll. And this is considered an opportunity attack, so I can do it multiple times if I'm on full defense. So, Giant Killer, when I use that power against a marked prey that is larger than me, reduce the cost to 0 mana. Ooh. I have to reword that now. When using the Punish power against marked prey that is larger than you, gain a temporary point of mana to channel the power. Hordebreaker, when you attack your marked prey, that's how I should be wording this. When you're marked prey, when you punish power, when you target your marked prey with Sweeping Strike, and I get access to Sweeping Strike. Sweeping Strike, is that a 1st rank power? Yep, Sweeping Strike. Your weapon damage increases by 1 power die per mana burned. You can choose a 2nd creature within 5 feet of the original target and within your reach. If the original attack roll would hit the 2nd creature, it takes damage equal to the total rolled on power dice. The damage is of the same type. It's not your full weapon damage, it's just the power dice that you roll. That's cool. I like that. So, Sweeping Strike. Hordebreaker. So when you target your marked prey with Sweeping Strike, the 2nd creature takes the weapon damage. Ooh, in addition to the power dice. Oh, I like that. you can choose to learn the remaining options. I love this. Okay, so the thing that sucks about the hunter is that you have all these cool options, but you only get to choose one. This, you can choose these things as additional powers. So you learn all these powers to do these things, and then you can spend an extra power to kick these things as part of your kit. I love that. I forgot I did that. I absolutely love that. Okay, cool. So 7th level, Escape the Horde. Rogue Stance becomes permanent with 0 cost. So now you have Rogue Stance is basically cunning action. The dodge, disengage, and hide action. You gain that permanently with 0 cost. So now you basically have that rogue action. There you go. Multi-attack defense. Reduce the cost of empowered defense to 1st rank. Empowered defense. What is it? What is empowered defense? 2nd rank. Reaction. As a reaction to when you are hit by an attack roll from a source you can see, roll a number of power dice equal to the mana burn. And we've just reduced it to 1, so it's only 1. You gain a bonus to armor class equal to the highest die result until the beginning of your next turn, including the triggering attack roll, potentially turning that hit into a miss. I could put 5 dice into it. I'll end up with the best result of those 5 dice. It's a 2nd rank power, which means I have to roll 2 dice when I use it, except this power reduces it to only a 1st rank power. This is one of those rare examples. This class is one of those rare examples that's reducing costs on stuff. Steel Will. You have advantage on saving throws against being frightened. There you go. And you can choose to learn these remaining options as powers. And 11th level multi-attack. At 11th level, choose one of the following features. Volley as a maneuver, which can be used as either an attack, as an action, or a bonus action. That's what maneuvers can be used as. Burn 1 mana to make a ranged attack against any number of creatures within 10 feet of a point you can see within your weapon's range. You must have ammunition for each target as normal and make a separate attack roll for each target. You can choose to channel strikes for each target hit during the maneuver. Wow. Any number of target within 10 feet of you. Make a ranged attack against any number of creatures within 10 feet of a point. Wow. You could burn through your entire mana pool in 1 round that way. That's intense. Whirlwind attack. Gain the whirlwind attack monk class feature as above. We looked at that yesterday. Let's take a quick look at it. Monk. Whirlwind attack feature. Spend one point of mana to perform a whirlwind attack. Your level as a monk, or in this case ranger, determines how many targets you can attack as an action or a bonus action, and how far apart each one can be. You have to spend at least 1 point of mana, and however many points of mana you spend is the amount of damage dice that you roll. So if I spend 4 mana, I deal 48 damage if I'm 11th level. And then after I complete a whirlwind attack, I can burn 1 extra point of mana as a kicker effect to teleport within 5 feet of one of the targets I attacked. So that's slick. And I can learn that as a power. Fuck, that's awesome. And then Superior Hunter's Mark. I think, is Monster Slayer the last one? Nope, I got Swarmkeeper as well. But I'm out of time, though. I have to go. My lunch is over. It is time for me to bounce out of here and go pay unto Caesar what is Caesar's. And I have my playtest tomorrow morning, so I won't be back around. I'm going to finish this off stream to make sure it's there. Thanks a lot for hanging out, guys. If this stuff is interesting to you, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon. Check the description down below. Check the description down below here to get access to the playtest content that we were just looking at. Here's the full playlist of all 134 episodes. Pacts and Patrons of Ravnica, the Martial Power System playtest, and the Discord community accessible through the About page of my Patreon, and the Patreon itself, and you can follow me on Twitter. Hey, Zona. Thanks a lot for being here, man. Okay, great. Swing by my Discord, say hey, and you can check this stuff out and ask me anything. So I'll see you guys then. Thanks a lot. I'll be back on Monday.